Joining BYU Sports Nation, guest number 2, David NIXON, former NFL and BYU linebacker, via the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. 8 sacks against Cincinnati, David. That team had only given up 6 in 5 games. How did BYU make that happen on Friday night?
Well, I think a lot was due to the fact that you finally have a healthy defense. You finally have all the pieces that were missing. You got Harvey Longy back. You've got, Brotzkafusi hitting on all cylinders. Secondary, you've got guys back in their normal positions compared to the week prior against East Carolina. We had Kai Nakua playing corner the whole game. So you had a healthy defense, clicking all cylinders, a unit that is cohesive, but in the sense that they've been together all throughout spring, all throughout summer. And finally, everyone's where they're supposed to be, and it clicks. And it started off slow, but Bronco mentioned in his post-game comments that we made some adjustments, and we continued to try different things, and it paid off. And that's when you saw those 8 sacks come into play. And they really all night, they flustered that Cincinnati offense, and they really weren't able to do anything.
Yeah, that BYU defense was impressive. Everyone's healthy, and we could see what they could do, which is great. Offensively, you called it. Your bold prediction was that BYU would outpass Cincinnati, and that was crazy. That was really bold. How did you get that correctly?
Well, I thought BYU's defense would come to play, and you look at Cincinnati and what they had done in the previous games, throwing over for over 500 yards of offense and just throwing the ball around. But I felt that they hadn't really faced a defense like BYU's defense all year, and BYU's defense stepped up to the challenge. I mean, 8 sacks. I can't remember the last time that BYU had 8 sacks in a game. It's pretty impressive. But a lot of it is because they were flushing out Hayden Moore. He was in the pocket, but they flushed him out, and they were able to get to him before he got to the line of scrimmage and tie up a sack. So credit goes to that offensive line, and really credit goes to Brotzkafusi. I mean, literally every single week in, week out, he's getting better and better, and he continues to fine-tune his skills, and not only his rushing ability, but his hands and how he gets the offensive tackles off of him. And he uses his huge frame, his 6'8" frame to get around the edge and lock those offensive linemen out so they can't grab them. And then he uses his speed to get around and get sacks. I mean, he's a fun player to watch. In fact, when it is time for defense to be on the field, I find myself literally just watching him and seeing what he's doing exactly, and it's been fun to watch.
Not only the defense that he's providing, but he got credit for that blocked kick, although I thought Travis Tuiloma was in there. Brotzkafusi now second in the country with 2 blocked kicks. So he's making his presence known all over the field. Well,
it goes to show you this is a team that, we're talking about special teams now, and you can tell when a team is bought in when your star players are making plays on special teams because they realize, look, it's going to take all 3 phases of the game to win this one, and those starters aren't going out on field goals or on punts, but they're the ones in there trying to make a play because they realize it's up to us to get these plays done, and it's been fun. You're right. You see a lot this year, the stud players. A lot of the starters are out there making tackles or making big plays on special teams, and has a direct correlation with the team buying in and realizing that it's going to be up to them.
David NIXON with us on BYU Sports Nation. I am looking at this BYU team outscoring the opposition plus 50 overall in the fourth quarter, 84-34, including 21-0 on Friday night. And I'm just seeing it as BYU able to maintain that energy and consistency late in the game, whereas other teams look like they're getting worn down. Where do you see BYU and why they're being so successful in the fourth quarter, David?
Well, first and foremost, you look towards conditioning. I mean, why are they being outlasted to these opposing teams? And I think conditioning plays a huge role. But I also think, the precedent was set from game 1 where BYU came back against Nebraska, won on a Hail Mary. And I think the confidence kind of grew from there. And I think this BYU team realized that we're never out of a game. And that they own the fourth quarter. I know when we were at BYU, we really stressed the fourth quarter. That was our time to make our mark and make our push. And you've really seen that come through with this BYU team, and I think it all comes down to confidence. I think they know that, look, we've got a quarterback, although he's a freshman, he's proven himself. We've got confidence that he can make the plays, make the throws. Defensively, we just have to go out there and get the ball back in his hands as often as possible in that fourth quarter, and he'll lead our team down to a victory. We saw against East Carolina, and we saw against Cincinnati that they just pushed and pushed, and this team just holds up in that fourth quarter. And as a fan, that's obviously what you love. Plus 50, I mean, you couldn't ask for more from a team in that fourth quarter. And it's paying its dividends. BYU, is now sitting 5-2.
Should Tanner Mangum play this Saturday at all?
I think so. I think here's the thing. I mean, Wagner's still a formidable opponent in the sense that they're going to put players on the field. So you can't just sit there and say this is we're just going to trot out and everything's going to be fine and dandy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, you're still got to go against guys, right? And these guys get scholarships too. But I think you go out there and play him for a couple series, but you quickly hand over the reins. I think BYU's rushing attack will do just fine. I don't think Tanner will be in very many positions to where he will get hit or where his body will have the opportunity to get hurt. I think they're just going to pound the ball with Algie Brown and Francis Bernard. But you also get him a few throws in, and then, after that first quarter when BYU's up 14-21-0, that's when you bring in Bo Hodge and get as many guys, get many reps on with as many guys as possible because, this is their opportunity. This is their opportunity to get some game reps. That will, if Tanner does pull his hamstring again, then Bo's ready because he's had 3 quarters to play against a team. So, this week it's an interesting week for players because you're not preparing for obviously a UCLA or Michigan. So your mindset is a little bit different. But this is a week where you focus on yourself. Usually you're focusing on the opponent and what type of scheme they're running, what you're learning, the tendencies from the offensive lineman or whatever it is. This is a week where you focus on yourself and you go back and maybe rehash some of the other games and you think, okay, what could I have done better on this blitz or that blitz? And this is a week where you really fine-tune your own technique and your own skills.
What is it like preparing for an FCS team in that game day buildup?
Well, we played a few my years, and it is different. At the end of the day, it's a home game, right? You only get 6 home games a year. So yeah, at the end of the day, while it is not a great opponent, you still want to go out and you want to play well in front of your crowd and in front of your family and friends and anybody else that's there. So you still want to go out there and play. So it's not something where you just write it off and you're not really excited about playing. I mean, there's still some excitement there, and this is one of those games where you pad your stats. You get a couple. Bronson goes out there and has 5 sacks and gets to pad those stats. And so when those NFL agents and scouts come looking, then they say, okay, yeah, he had 15 sacks with 7 in one game. That's pretty impressive. But no, it is a home game. You only get 6 of them, so you take advantage of it. But there's no question that it's a different week. I mean, the buzz around the campus isn't quite there. The buzz around the media is not quite there. And so it is tougher to kind of get more emotionally ready for the game. But then that's where, once again, you say, look, it's a home game, and I'm going to go out there and play my hardest.
You can watch David Nixon, Brian Logan, and the guys on After Further Review tomorrow night. After Inside BYU Football, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 Mountain Time, as they break down BYU Cincinnati X's and O's and get you set for that Wagner showdown on Saturday. David, great to talk to you, man.
All right, thanks, guys.